If you like pop-up cards, then we definitely invite you to check out our website, KarenBerniston.com. Our crafting dies do all of the hard work for you, and you can spend your time creating these amazing interactive cards to delight anyone who receives them. We have YouTube video instructions to help you through the assembly of both our pop-up dies and all of our decorator dies. With over 65 different pop-up dies to choose from, there is definitely something for everyone, so we invite you to check it out, KarenBerniston.com.
Hey, I'm Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative. I am an SVG designer and a frequent speaker at crafty summits like this one. I'm probably most well known for my card designs, so I'm extremely excited to be part of the Stress-Free Card Making Summit. I am also extremely excited to be showing you how to create this fun double Z-fold birthday card that you can make with your Cricut. So let's get started by taking a look at the supplies you're going to need. All right, so for supplies for this card, I am going to be cutting this on my Cricut Joy Extra, but you can cut this on any of the Cricut machines or any electronic cutting machine that will take an SVG. So along with the Cricut or an electronic cutting machine, you are going to need some mats, and preferably light grip, and a scoring device of some kind, along with your fine point blade. So that, depending on the Cricut machine you're on, that could be the scoring stylus. If you're on the Maker series, it could be the scoring wheel. And for Cricut Joy and Cricut Joy Extra users, you can use the Cricut Joy Foil Transfer Kit to score. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm counting the Cricut supplies, sort of the general ones like the mats and the machine itself, as one supply. I am counting the ability to score a second supply. Then I highly endorse the Cricut brayer or some kind of brayer to adhere your cardstock to your mats. I think this is amazing. So that would be supply number 3. And then a fine point tweezers is going to be really important for placing some of our delicate items that we're going to be cutting out. Counting these as my 4 optional extra supplies. Everything else does not count against my 5 supplies. So let's get to those. So for cardstock, what you're going to need are several pieces of cardstock in different colors. So you're going to need like an orange glitter, and you want this to be fairly lightweight. Then in 65-pound 176 GSM lightweight cardstock, you're going to want black, white, fuchsia, sort of a medium turquoise, and a shiny gold. And then you're going to need 1 piece of heavyweight cardstock, which is 100 pounds or more, 300 GSM or more, in like a dark teal, a color that coordinates with your lighter turquoise. And then you're also going to need some patterned paper. So you can use 2 different sheets of patterned paper, or you can use 1 double-sided piece, which is what I'm going to be doing. So I do suggest that you have different scales on your pattern. So what do I mean by that? This is a small scale pattern because it has a whole bunch of tiny little elements that make up the pattern. If we flip this over, you'll see this is a much more like a medium scale because the elements that are making up the pattern are larger than the smaller dots. So you want something that is a small scale and something that is a somewhat larger, larger scale than the small scale. So like, I'll call that medium scale. Now, in addition to that, you're going to need some adhesive. I'm going to be using this glue with a fine point bottle. You do need a fine point tip on your glue in order to glue down some of the very, very tiny elements that are going to be a part of this card. I'm going to have a scissors on hand just in case. I will be using a ruler for 1 part, and then I'm going to use a large acrylic block. So now let's get started by heading on over to Cricut Design Space. I'm in Cricut Design Space and I have opened a new project, so I have a blank canvas. And the first thing we need to do is upload the design file. So to do that, you want to go over to the left-hand toolbar, and depending on whether you are a Cricut Access member or not, your upload button is at the bottom or a second from the bottom. So just find that and click it. This screen's going to open. I usually click Upload Image right here, the button, and then I click Browse. This is going to open a navigation window into your computer, so you just need to navigate to wherever you downloaded and saved the file. I am on the desktop version of Cricut Design Space. The mobile version does vary, but that is what you need to do at this point as well. Find the file and find the location for where you downloaded it. It is called Z-Fold Birthday Card Black Sheep 303. Just click it once you find it and then click open. It's going to come in looking like this, so that is correct. Just click continue. If you want to, over here on the left, you can change the image name, you can add tags, you can add it to a collection, whatever you like. I'm going to skip all that and I'm going to just click upload. It's going to come in looking kind of ugly, but it is all grouped together. So the first thing we want to do is ungroup it. So to do that, go up to the top of the layers panel over here on the right. The very first double square is ungrouped, so just click on that. The groups will open up and then you can click off of it to deselect it. All right, so we have a number of groups here. We've got the cupcake, we've got the celebrate you, we've got some stars, we've got a happy birthday, we have a white strip, and then we have several of these very light blue strips. Now the light blue panels, those are going to be cut out of the patterned paper that I mentioned in the supplies. So that's what I did, double-sided, so I could cut them all out of one sheet. The thing you need to remember if you're doing this out of two separate sheets would be that one of the small pieces needs to be out of each type of pattern. And then same for these smaller panels that are taller. So one of each for the shorter and one of each for the taller, and then the small scale pattern for the big piece. So these are the pieces that are going to be cut out of heavy cardstock. This is your card base, and then this is the extra Z folding piece. So both of these have lines on them, as you can see. Now they look black right now, but if we go over to the layers panel, like select the strip one, the skinnier one. If you go to the layers panel, you can see it's highlighted, and you know it's a group because it has this drop down arrow right by it. So click that arrow and you'll see it open up, and it's got three elements to this group. We've got the two lines, vertical lines, and then the strip itself. So if you click on one of the lines and you look up here in the operation box in the upper left of the top toolbar, you'll see that the fill color on that is red. Now it doesn't show that way. I'm not sure why that is. It must have something to do with designing the file in Illustrator and then bringing it over. But if you look at the second line, that is also red. And so generally speaking, for my card designs, if you see red lines, those need to be changed to score lines. So that's what we're going to do now here. To grab both lines at once, you can click on one and then hold down your shift key and click the other one, and then you've got them both. And what you do right now varies depending on the machine you are on. Now, any of the machines can cut this card. So if you are on one of the larger machines, like a Maker, an Explorer Series, a Venture, I'm going to change my machine up here to the Maker just so you can see this. You would go over to the upper toolbar, and under the operation box, you would click the drop down next to Basic Cut, and you would choose Score. And then you click off of that and you'll see that the lines have changed to dashed lines, and that's correct. That's what you want. At that point, you would then click to select the entire group, and you want to click Attach at the bottom of the Layers panel. Now the reason you have to do that is because Attach is what tells the software to tell the machine to score those lines exactly where they are now. I'm not going to do that yet because I want to talk to the Joy and the Joy Extra users. Okay, so if I change my machine to my Joy Extra, which is what I'm going to actually use to cut this, you'll see that those have little red exclamations next to them now, the lines, because Joy and Joy Extra users don't have the option to score. But what you can do instead is go up to the operation box and choose Foil, because you can actually use the Foil transfer tool to score lines. Obviously, you do not use foil with it. You're just using the foil tool to draw the lines. Now the lines are going to change to gold. It's very hard to see on this dark blue because gold is like the default color for foil. So that's why it changes to that. But so again, now you would select the whole group, make sure you get the top, and then attach this together for the same reason, so that they get scored or foiled, but it's not really foiling, in the right place. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing for the card base as well. So if we go over to the Layers panel, click the arrow to drop down the group, and select the two lines. So hold down Shift to select them both. Go up to the operation box, and Joy and Joy Extra users, you pick foil. Larger machine users, you pick score. Then you want to click on the entire group and click attach. All right, and then another thing we need to do is with this group of stars, we need to duplicate this. We're going to duplicate it 2 times. So you can do that a couple ways. You go up to the top of the layers panel and click the little plus here. That gives you a second group. Or you can right click on it and click duplicate, because we want to have 3 groups of those. Okay, so that's all we have to do in Cricut Design Space for this design. Just remember, if you are using 2 different sheets of pattern paper, you're going to need to change these 2 pieces to a different color to put them on a different mat. All right, so now I'm going to go up to the upper right and click Make, because we're ready to go. I'm going to click on Mat and then click Confirm. And then you just want to scroll through your mats to see if everything looks good. You know, if you want to move anything around to consolidate down your cardstock, you can. Now, yellow is the gold cardstock. Orange is the orange glitter cardstock, in case you didn't realize that. The card base and the strip, that's the heavy cardstock. And then everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, it looks good, so now I'm going to click Continue. Okay, so now we're on the materials screen, so let's talk about setting the base material. Now for all of the mats, except for the dark turquoise teal colored mat, which is the card base and then the strip, you're going to be using 65 pound 176 GSM cardstock, or for the glitter cardstock and maybe your pattern paper, it might be even lighter than that. But if you're using that 176 GSM 65 pound cardstock, what do you set your material to? Well, let's go into Browse All Materials over here on the right. It's going to open your materials menu. This menu varies depending on the machine you're using. Joy and Joy Extra users have the shortest menu. So what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down to cardstock, the section. And if you are on one of the larger machines, the ones that can cut 12 inches wide, I want you to select cardstock for intricate cuts. It will be the very first choice under the cardstock section. Joy and Joy Extra users, I want you to pick medium cardstock. So you just click on it to select it, a little green check mark will show up, and then you would click Done. Now you might be wondering, it says light cardstock is for that weight of cardstock that I'm telling you to use. But in my experience, it's much better to use the medium cardstock setting with that weight of cardstock with the Joy and Joy Extra. Now, if you're cutting, say, your pattern paper is like scrapbook paper, then I would use the light cardstock setting for that. But I'm using that 65 pound 176 GSM cardstock for basically everything except the card base, so I'm using the medium cardstock setting. Big machines, again, you use cardstock for intricate cuts. Click Done. And so that is the setting you would use for all of the mats except for the card base mat. And that's the one that's going to say score and basic cut or foil and basic cut. So what do you use for that? Well, let's go back into the materials menu, go back down to the cardstock setting, and then no matter what machine you're on, you're going to select heavy cardstock, because you should be using cardstock that is 100 pounds or more or 300 GSM or more. And then click Done. Now I'm getting this Move My Star Wheels note because it thinks that I'm foiling. And you don't want to foil with your star wheels because it'll transfer foil accidentally. So you have to move them over. So that's why I'm getting that warning. And so again, it's going to tell me when I get to this mat to load the foil. But remember, and I'm sure this is obvious, Joy and Joy Extra users, you are not using foil. You are simply using the foil tool to draw the line. So even though it's going to tell you to load foil, don't do it. Just load the tool. All right, and then you would continue on to basic cut. Larger machine users, you're going to have score. All right, and then if like me, you have mats after that, you're going to have to go back to the medium cardstock or cardstock for intricate cut setting to finish any mats that you have left. Okay, so that's everything you need to know to get everything cut out using Cricut Design Space. The cutting is very straightforward. I'm not going to show you that part. I have one suggestion, however, and that is with your pink mat, that you leave the block letters in place on the mat. Don't peel them off. because it's too easy to lose them, especially the exclamation point in you. So birthday and you, I would leave on there. But everything else you should cut out and remove from your mat, and then meet me back over at my workstation where we are going to assemble this really cool card. Okay, so I've got all the pieces cut out here, and as you can see, there are quite a few smallish pieces. Now, first thing I want to start with is the card base, because this is kind of the fun part of the card, which is the fold. Okay, so you can see the score lines there that have been drawn on the card base. And so if you don't have an electronic cutting machine and you just want to make this on your own, and really for any card base with where you want to do this fold, the method is the same. So what you do is first you fold it in half. So I'm going to just put my fingers right up against the score line that's in the middle and just start it up from the back. And I'm going to bring it forward and I'm going to try to match up my ends here. And then I'm going to take this ruler and I'm going to use the ruler to reinforce the fold just by running it over the fold line. If you have a bone folder, you could use that. Okay, then, so we've got it folded in half. And then I'm going to fold up the second fold. So I'm going to start, again, same way. But we want this to go to the outside, so I'm going to fold it out. And then I'm going to just take my ruler and reinforce that fold as well. So this would be the front of the card, like that. Okay, so now let's talk about the strip. So you can kind of see there you go, the two score lines, and it's the same configuration. So basically you're folding the card base in half, and then you're folding one of the halves in half the other way to give you your card base. And for this piece, you're doing the same thing. So you're going to fold it in half. And it doesn't matter what size card you're making, it's the same no matter what size you're working with. We just happen to be working with an A2 size. So I'm just folding it in half and reinforcing the fold again. And now we're going to fold this one side in half again. So then we have you can see the Z fold here and the Z fold here. All right, and so then it's going to line up like this, and so you're going to glue it like this. But first, we need to put our panels on the card base and then also make all the little fun extras. Okay, so now let's adhere our pattern paper to the card base and then the extra Z fold. So the big piece obviously goes on the large piece of the card, and you want to have like an even border all the way around when you glue it down, ideally. Then next to that, we're going to put the opposite pattern, so like the larger size pattern. So it's going to look like that. And then for this one, we're going to put the white piece on the long part. Then we're going to put this pattern. So it's kind of opposite here. And then we're putting this one on the end. All right, so now it's just a matter of gluing everything down. Okay, so I'm just going to put these off to the side to dry. And so now let's start making our little embellishments. So I'm starting with the candles. So on the pieces that have little cutouts in them, it's pretty easy to tell what's the top and what's the bottom. The top has like the spot for where it's burning, the like hole. But on the pieces that are not cut or that don't have any pattern on them, the way you can tell the top from the bottom is the top is slightly flatter. So hopefully you can see, like this is, I mean, they're both curved, but this is sort of flat, and this is more rounded. And so that's how you know which is the top and which is the bottom. So we've got a gold top on a blue candle. We've got a pink polka dot on a gold. We've got a pink stripe on a blue. We have a blue stripe on a pink. We have gold polka dots on a blue base and a pink on a gold. Okay, so those are our layered candles. And then we're gonna put a flame and a wick on each of these. All right, so I'm just gonna get started by gluing. And this is kind of where you need that fine tip bottle because we have all these teeny tiny little areas we need to put glue on. Okay, and then you just have to stick the wicks to the flames. Now the flames are not all the same. We should have 3 different kinds. All right, and then it's just a matter of gluing them to the candles. And I actually didn't intentionally, I glued this on upside down. I did not intentionally do that, but that is a way to vary up your striped candles if you want to. All right, so those are our completed candles. Now we need to do the saying, so like the words on the 2 different sentiments. So I'm gonna pull my mat over here that has the you and the birthday. And for happy birthday, you want to do the birthday word first and put happy on top because they overlap. So you want the Y to stick out above the D. Hope that makes sense. For celebrate you, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then finally, we have to put together a cupcake. So it's fairly straightforward. The gold outline goes on top of the white frosting, the pink goes on top of the blue. Here are all the pieces, the little pieces that are going to serve as decoration for the card. So happy birthday goes in the center of this piece. So we're going to put it like so. And then we have stars that go like so. Like that. Okay, and then celebrate you goes on the center piece. Ideally, you'll have the C covered by the strip when you put it down. And then the cupcake is going to go right in the middle of this pattern piece. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for a second. Okay, now let's go back to our main card. So this is the front of the card. So I'm just going to hold this in place to sort of, so I can get a feel for where the candles are going to go. So you want this to be lined up about so like the edges of the pattern pieces match. If you have any sticking over, you can trim that off with a scissors. And so then what I want to do is I want to take my first group of 3 candles, which are the gold stripe, the pink polka dots, and the pink stripe. And I'm going to kind of decide where I want these on the front. You know, and you can angle them to give them a little sass if you want. We just want to make sure that the bottoms aren't showing below this, and they are kind of mostly taking up the center of the card. Okay, and so now we just want to glue those down. So now that we have those candles in place, what we're going to do is we're going to glue the strip onto the front of the card. So it's all folded up, and we're going to flip it over like so. You're going to put glue here and here, and that's it. But you are going to want to put a pretty generous amount of glue because this is heavyweight cardstock that we're gluing to heavyweight cardstock. It has a fair amount of stuff stuck to it already, and we do need it to stay in place once the glue dries. Okay, and with it still flat, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to glue it. And you want to make sure it's straight. That is one of the tricky things. So, okay, so you've got 3/8 of an inch maybe showing at the bottom. And so then when you open it, it opens like this. So now we're going to deal with our other 3 candles here. So what we're going to do here, we're going to put them on this, on the underside. We're gluing them here. So we're gluing them to this side. You'll notice that there's like 2 of the letters in Celebrate. You can see the backs. So what we want to do is we want to space these out so that they cover those pieces, and also so that it kind of obscures the cupcake. So you aren't totally seeing what's on the back of the card, like what's behind this. And you can look at it like in relationship to these, you know, like, and that's how you can decide how tall you want them to be or how short, you know, kind of up to you. So then when they open it, it looks like this. And that's very cute. And you can leave it just like that. So when somebody stands it up, this section does look a little bit bare. So you have a choice. You could write your like a greeting here, like whatever message you want to write, because that's covered by this front section. You can put a piece of white cardstock in there if you want to do that. You can also write a message on the back of the card. So you don't necessarily have to be using the front to write anything. And so that's kind of the way I was looking at it. So that's what our extra stars are for. So we have a bunch of extra stars here that we cut out. So I'm going to take these stars and I'm going to decorate like this panel and then maybe a little bit over here. Okay, so I've got the 3 stars like that on that panel. All right, so that is like that. If you wanted to, you could add the gold star to the front up here, like maybe behind the candles, if you're smart enough and think about that ahead of time. You could also, if you are going to write a message on the back, I think what I would do is I would put it back here. Okay, well, so there is the completed card. I guess technically it is a double Z fold. But I hope you will make this. I would love to see what you come up with. You can always change the colors, especially if you're going for like a more masculine feel, or, you know, somebody likes pastels instead of brights, or you name it, make it your own. And I also wanted to mention that I have a coordinating envelope. So it comes with a liner and it has a cupcake cutout on the flap. You do have to glue in this bottom piece, so don't lose that when you cut it out, but otherwise it fits right in there. And you can sign up for my email list to get both of those as a freebie from me for the Stress-Free Card Making Summit. Hope you'll try it. I'd love to see pictures. If you do post it anywhere, please use my social media tags. I'll put them here. Because I love to see how you make things your own. So I hope you liked the project. Thanks so much for checking it out. Have a great time at the rest of the summit. There are so many amazing card ideas. So have a great time and happy card making.